Y'all, Stages is now sponsored by BetterHelp, and I couldn't be more excited because I love therapy. So I encourage you, if you've had a tough year and a half, why don't you give them a shot? You can find a therapist that you can connect with. Their resource is thousands of therapists, well-trained and experienced. You can keep looking until you find someone that you click with. They have customized online therapy. They do offer videos, but they also offer phone and live chat sessions. So you don't even have to be seen. You can only be heard. What are you waiting for? Go to BetterHelp. That's HELP.com/stages. And for our cast members, you get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/stages. Go, go, go. Go find your healing. Go find your happy. Stages podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. That's HELP. Hi, I'm Stephanie J. Block.
And I'm Mary Lee Fairbanks. Welcome to Stages Podcast,
where we're bringing creation and connection to center stage.
Donna, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor before we go to our 5 questions. I need you to say for me, the bazaar is well and truly open. Because that delivery was so frickin' perfect. Here she goes.
Trying to find her. The bazaar is well and truly open.
Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't have many lines, so I'm glad you enjoyed that one.
Today's guest is a fellow Bostonian. As a matter of fact, my son goes to the same high school that she attended. She has extensive stage, film, and television credits that range from Sondheim to Star Trek, from The King and I to The Bourne Legacy. She can be seen right now in HBO's Gilded Age. Have you guessed who it is yet? She is an Emmy Award winner. She is a 5-time Tony nominee and has won twice for Best Actress as Fosca in Passion and Anna in The King and I. Please welcome Mrs. Caroline Astor herself, Donna Murphy. Donna Murphy to stage, please. Can we have Donna to the stage, please?
I want your career.
Oh,
I've always
God.
wanted your career.
Everybody wants her career. You have the perfect
brilliant.
career.
You really do. When we were prepping for this chat, both Mary Lee and I said that. It was because of not only the extensive credits, but it's like you've curated something that everything you do has depth. It's well presented. It's remembered. And yet, and I hope you take this the right way, you can go about your life without being bombarded or interrupted. I'm sure thousands of people say, I know you. I know you. I know you. Oh, and then it'll come to them. But you really have reached this certain level of working nonstop in all mediums.
Yeah.
But yet your life isn't interrupted by stardom. Stardom to me holds a heaviness, takes freedom away.
Yeah, it's limiting.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. And you've never been pigeonholed. Everything you've done is so diverse. Musicals, dramas, it's just
voiceovers,
across the board, everything. Yep. It's fantastic.
You know, I can't thank you enough for that introduction and also just the things that both of you had to say. And it's so interesting because I don't know if we actually spoke about it, Mary Lee, or just in our texts and emails back and forth, said that, you know, I'm in a very different time in my life, and not to just sort of dive into what is complicated and has had some darkness in it, but I'm in a different chapter of my life that's very much connected to the illness and the loss of my soulmate, Sean Elliott, who I met when I was 21 years old, and we were together 36 years before he died. And he was, you know, my best friend, my lover, my husband, my partner in everything, parenting. And he's just the person that I trusted the most. We always said that I was a very mature 21-year-old and he was a very immature 40.
You met in the middle, huh?
And he thought I was like 30 and I thought he was in his mid 30s. And we both found out from other people how old each other were. We went, this is too much. But anyway, it was meant to be. To get back to career, I will say that my choices, once I realized, wow, I'm going to have to be very conscious about my choices, or other people are going to, and other circumstances are going to appear to steer my direction. And there's so much about being in this business, which is giving up control of the wheel.
Yeah.
There are other things that, as my therapist says, you are in your own little boat. No matter, what the ocean is doing, you still are in your boat. It's your little boat. And you get to make decisions, not about the turbulence and the conditions, but it's still you. So, in very sort of superficial ways, I was realizing once I was starting to work as an actress that, oh, wow, whatever I did last, that's what people think I do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And it always shocked me because in a business that is was created by imagination.
Right.
People within it so often
limited you.
So little.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I mean, you both know it. We all know it.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, well, then it's part of my job is to not only for my own satisfaction, because boring, I'm not interested in. I don't have like a persona that I was excited about. Oh, I want the world to meet this, I don't know, persona of Donna Murphy. I don't know. I mean, I'm me, and I'm the channel through which these different characters come. And I believe we all have the seeds of everything in us. So it's really allowing yourself to find that seed and then doing whatever you do. For me, it's a lot of research and a lot of thinking about the world of this person, both.
So preparation is huge for you.
It is. It is.
Mm-hmm.
So you must be having a ball then with the Gilded Age and Mrs. Astor and digging into all of that history. I mean, that's just such a fantastic show. It is so much fun to watch. And it seems like it's going to just go on forever.
Fun.
That show has been a blessing because I was able to shoot it during the pandemic. Their safety protocols were through the roof. They would come to my house and do a PCR test,
Wow.
many days each week when I was working. And I'm only in five of the first 9 episodes. If we go to a second season, I become a series regular,
it's happening.
Of course. I mean, how could it not?
And if you're not watching, it's lavish. It's decadent. It's dripping with Broadway, pedigree. It's
Broadway
really
people throughout the entire thing. It's so wonderful to watch. It's beautiful. Yep. Oh, it's fantastic. I'm so excited for you. It's great. But I want to circle back to sort of the beginning of your career and school and how you had the vision to take control of your career and how you moved forward.
But I realize, and I have been called #Tangent Queen. I'm the worst at just saying, oh, really? You asked this question? Here you go.
Well, now we know the title of your episode.
The Tangent Queen. Yeah.
And my first job was a Broadway job.
Yeah. You had an exciting 20s. You had an exciting decade. Yeah.
It was exciting, but Stephanie, it was confusing because I always thought I'd go to college, I'd study, and originally I was looking for a musical theater program. I was waitlisted in the musical theater program at Carnegie Mellon.
Mm-hmm.
I was told I was number 3 on a wait list. My second choice was NYU. Not work study, not loans, full ride to their drama department.
But you wanted musical theater.
No, well, I did. I wanted Carnegie Mellon if it was musical theater. But my second choice was to go to NYU and study with Stella Adler.
Oh.
That musical theater program. And there weren't a lot of musical theater programs in 1970.
Dance? So it was either dance, music, or drama. There was no sort of amalgam of them.
Maybe Cincinnati Conservatory existed, and for some reason there was a musical theater program there, and I wasn't aware of it.
Okay.
Like I know people who were contemporaries of mine who were in that program, but anyway, so I said, okay, that's not meant to be. And my parents like, what are you talking about? Because I did get a lot of support financially at NYU, but I also had work study and I had loans to pay back.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't just money that was being awarded to me. And my parents did not understand it at all. They're like, why? And then I made my decision. I was very psyched. I knew somebody who was studying with Stella Adler. I would not have known who she was, but somebody who was 3 or 4 years older than me and who I'd done some theater with up in the Topsfield area, and who I looked up to greatly, Ken Talberth. And he was a mentor to me and a wonderful man. And he was studying with Stella and he had told me about her and he just said, "He will change your life." So I was very determined that if it wasn't that, then what was meant to be was for me to really study with one of the greats who probably wouldn't be here for much longer. So I then, of course, in like June, got a call that I got bumped up and I could go to the musical theater program at Carnegie Mellon and have the full ride. And I was like, no, I'm going to NYU. I'm studying with Stella Adler. And so that was amazing, but incredibly intimidating. A lot of the kids in my class were kids who were a little bit older who had transferred into the program. And she was tough.
Yeah, I bet.
Tough and really tough on women and really tough on young women. And I remember her saying at one point, not to me directly, but to someone else, "Stop wasting your father's money, darling."
Oh, geez.
I was just like, oh, dear God. I'm so connected to her.
She's still with you, huh?
First of all, I didn't get a lot of what she was teaching me when I was 18, but thank God I took copious notes because she was talking about the middle class. You need to elevate yourself as an artist. You need to take in the world. You have a responsibility as an artist. And I'm so glad that I had somebody saying those things to me because I wasn't going to hear it from anyone else for a long time, but I was going to suddenly be in the business less than 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to get a Broadway show. I was going to be a swing. God bless the swings.
Oh, wow.
I only had to cover 3 women who were like the show, Steph, because you did it.
Druid?
West, I know, with Jason Alexander. And
they're playing
our song. Yeah.
So it was basically a 2-hander with some backup singers.
Sure.
So I covered the 3 gals and then I was bored. And I felt so guilty. And I was barely making my rent. I think I made $355 a week. And that was my salary. And I moved out of my dorm. I tried to stay in school and it just rehearsals and classes because I got the job on my 20th birthday.
Wow.
The day I got the call. I didn't even have a phone in my room. I got a message in my message box in the dorm lounge. I did that show. And then there was a point where I went, I need to leave. I need to find something. I didn't have an agent. I had a great time doing the show, but I wanted to act. And I was starting to, let's just say, make a little bit more of what was needed in my role as one of the alter egos of Sonia Wolsk.
Were you starting to embellish your role a little bit, Donna?
I was playing her as one night I was like, I'm Hedda Gabler.
I'm dripping with angst and drama back here.
And I would find a way to justify why Sonia needed that aspect of her.
Yes.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Anyway, so I left that show to do a show that I had a tiny, tiny role in at the Goodspeed Opera House. It was a new show, so I thought I'll get to work on it from the beginning. It was about the Mexican Revolutionary, Emiliano Zapata. I was very tan at the time. My hair was dark brown, had long dark brown hair down my butt, and a very round face. Friends used to call me Big Mug, biggest face on the planet, just a very, very round face. And I met Sean Elliott
There at the good speed.
Yeah, and I had seen his work. I'd been very aware of him. I don't mean like a stalker, but he kept kind of coming into my life in interesting ways. I saw him perform in Boston. I was out on a date with somebody that I thought was like, well, I thought was going to be the first,
Sure.
And
protect that flower,
a film
young
called,
Murphy.
What, honey?
I said, protect that flower, young Donna Murphy.
I was.
As an Irish, were you all Catholic? Were you Irish Catholic?
We were.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
We were raised. I mean, I'm a mutt. I'm Irish, German, French, Czech, and found out about 8 years ago, 24% Ashkenazi Jew, which explains so much.
Yeah,
Mhm.
24%. That's substantial. Golly.
Yeah, exactly. But we were raised Irish Catholic, and I loved the church until we moved up to Massachusetts, and the pastor of the parish we were in was very rigid. And I'd come from a
Welcome to New England.
and Catholics were
Oh,
a
sure.
minority in the town. It was a very waspy town, and so I remember receiving communion, and he said, "Body of Christ, you have too much makeup on."
And I was getting makeup ticks from the priest. Thank you, Father.
Oh my
Wow.
And I asked questions like during these youth forums that we could have. A friend of mine's mom was divorced, and she was the most religious person I knew. And my friend was always curious, why isn't she allowed to receive communion? She cries about it every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So I raised my hand. I was kind of fearless at that time. And I just said, I'm just curious, somebody who is, so loving of God and so devoted to the church, and who was if you're in a marriage and people are really unhappy and they're hurting each other and it's hurting the children, why is divorce a sin that is so unforgiving that you can't, you believe in Christ and you want to accept that representation? Why is that? And he said, it's a sin, and these are things that you don't understand at this age.
Did you ask that of the same priest that told you had too much makeup on?
Oh yeah.
Good for you.
He was probably not a fan. I wasn't a fan. No, sorry. And my friend then burst into tears, and she was mad at me later. But that was kind of it for me. I did what I had to do. My parents said, as long as you're in this house, you go to church.
Mm-hmm.
And I did.
Get confirmed, and then you can.
I did the whole thing, yeah.
Yep.
But I haven't been a practicing Catholic since high school.
Yeah.
I would say I'm definitely a spiritual person.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I too grew up in a Catholic household. We would go to church every Sunday. It made no sense to me. Often I would sit there and go, why are there only boys that are why? What do you mean I came from a rib? It just made no sense to me at a very young age. So the minute I sort of didn't have to go, I stopped going. But I consider myself a super spiritual person. Looking at all of your social media posts and the things that you put out, you seem like a person who compassion, curiosity, connection are incredibly important things to you. What do you do that keeps you spiritually grounded? Because you seem very grounded and very introspective. And so I wonder, do you have a practice that you use to guide that part of yourself?
I think that journey started in my 20s when I didn't have the church. And the career was, people didn't know what to do with me in my 20s. Once I did that show, I met my husband, I fell in love, and I felt so kind of just ungrounded,
Scattered
in my love for my husband and in my desire to, how can I express? And I did, anyway, I don't want to go off on yet another tangent. I do want to get back to one of the questions you've asked, at least one. And I started reading Thomas Merton.
I don't know him.
Oh,
You encourage it highly. Yeah.
The Road Less Traveled.
Mm-hmm.
Marianne Williamson.
Oh, sure. I love her.
And those things started, what I felt was that it was just reconnecting me with something that I'd never lost, I'd always had.
It's so funny you say that. I don't mean to interrupt, but one of the phrases I always use when I teach yoga is, you're onto something when you feel like you are not hearing it for the first time, but remembering it. And it's this very distinct feeling that you get where you go, oh, I remember that. Yes, yes, yes. And you know it to be true. Yeah.
It's beautiful. And that is true. And I started trying to meditate, not successfully in my 20s. And then, and I started thinking I was going to leave the business because I felt like I'm not getting opportunities to give what I feel like I have to give. I've learned better now. People said to me, you're going to work your ass up in your 30s and 40s. People don't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
Kind of physically. And, without makeup, I looked like, at one point I had very short hair and I looked like Edwin Drood. I looked like a young boy, Peter Pan. And with makeup, I looked like I was trying to be like an Italian movie star or something. But, and people, like I was cast to do the first national tour of 9 and understudy Louisa. And I was like 23 or 24. And I didn't want to go on the road on a big tour. I didn't mind going off and doing a regional job, but for a few months, but not a tour, because I was in love and I had a stepdaughter. I wasn't married yet, but we were living together. And living is,
there's a lot of things to consider.
Yeah. So, but as I moved forward in my life and started working more, there was a job that came up, and you mentioned Star Trek, and in being cast as that character, she was supposedly 375 years old or something, and she lived on a planet that you reached maturity and then you didn't age any further. And I guess they thought that was my face was mature. That's where it stopped. But she had this very centered and incredibly
ethereal. You were really ethereal, yeah.
And I thought, what am I going to do to get myself there? So I studied meditation and I studied yoga, and it was the first time. And I worked with one person one-on-one because I had very limited time to prepare, but I really felt like I have to be able to just walk this, and breathe it. And it was one of the most beautiful times in my life preparing for it, to do the job. And I tried to carry it forward with me, kind of in and out, though, in my life, I have to say. But elements of the teachings of it stayed with me. And I will say that throughout the years, it's a touchstone. I don't think I have the discipline that you have, Mary Lee, as I've spoken to you and as I've heard you speak about your yoga practice. And
oh no, don't be fooled. I do not have a lot of discipline.
Well,
it's ebb and flow. There are times I'm very in, and times I just feel so distant to me that I don't know how to get back to it. And then you come back.
It saved me during the pandemic, I'll say.
And probably during the loss of your husband. It was probably very helpful.
I didn't have time. I mean, the first few years I'm still figuring that out. I'm still figuring that out. And, when you talk about the balancing of parenting, so obviously Sean and I, it was sometime, and I was in my 30s, and my career I was having all kinds of wonderful opportunities. And everything circles back to another question that you asked that I never completely answered or directly answered, in that I made very conscious choices that I was not going to do what I'd just done. And so I would turn down some wonderful opportunities, but it was like, no, I just played a brassy kind of gal, or I just played, I did Drood, and then I did the show Birds of Paradise, and I played a very tomboyish character. And then agents were getting feedback that, I wasn't really feminine enough for this or that, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, what Are you kidding me? So I did a 1-act play that I ran around in my lingerie, a fun play with an incredible cast. Anyway, so I did that
purposefully to reset everybody's mindset.
See, and so what was I getting calls for after that? Like
sexy.
Of course.
To be a VJ on VH1.
Oh,
And I was like,
What?
No, not what I am, and not what I do. I'm also dating myself, but hell, I'm 62, ladies. So I had to keep. It was fun. It's not like it was not for me. Great. This is what I want to do anyway.
right.
Yeah.
I want to explore different lives. I want to find out new things about the world and what it's like to walk in this person's shoes and go places I don't know of.
But for you to want to do that is exciting. For a casting director and a producer, all of a sudden they consider it more work on their part, could be risky. I always find, Donna, there are performers that you walk into a theater, you see their name on the billboard or the playbill, and you go, okay, I know exactly what I'm getting tonight.
Right.
And sometimes that's very satisfying. I know I'm going in for this glorious glass of cold milk, and it's going to taste like cold milk going down. That's what I came into the theater for. It filled me up. I left with what I expected.
Yep.
Then there are times where you look at an actor and you're like, ooh, what are we in for tonight? What is the chef special?
Yep.
And you're the chef special. You just never know. You're always beyond satisfied and you're surprised by the flavors. But it takes a team of other people who believe in you and support you and say, oh my God, let's do it. Let's give her and just see what happens instead of, we know what this is going to taste like. And, I think it's going to work. It's going to be serviceable. Let's go this route.
The thing is that I was very blessed in that Sean, my husband, in having been in the business for a long time, and before, as he used to say, throughout my 20s, when I was, often frustrated and, as I said, seriously considering leaving the business and looking into other things, drama therapy, maybe going back to school, maybe being an attorney, I just thought I want to give to the world in a meaningful way. But he said, you know what, Donna, I know at a point it was like all people want to see me for are musicals, and I can't crack that opportunity to just be seen as an actress who also sings. And I wanted the opportunity to do that, to try that. And he said, you know when that's going to come? When the right role in the musical theater happens. And people will not be able to deny that what they're watching is not just somebody standing center stage and belting their ass off or being wacky or standing still, in a gorgeous gown and glamorous. Yeah. It's something. And also each step that you're taking, and Sean didn't say this to me, it was also spiritually, I was trusting each step. You're where you need to be to get where you're meant to go.
But once you find that spiritual centering, then all of a sudden the career then clicks in a similar way because of that settling of spirit, right? And then all of a sudden things do start to percolate and you go, the magic is happening. And I do believe that spiritual journey and connectiveness works side by side.
Yes. Yeah. It's about what you have to give as opposed to what you're going to get.
That is exactly the key. How do I serve? Not only myself, but the world around me. And that when you're doing that, that's when things start to click for you. But I want to ask you a question about motherhood. You had this flourishing career and then you adopted your child. How do you find that balance when you have such a young child? How did you continue on growing the career while growing the world for this beautiful little baby that just came into your life? I mean, that's a real balancing act.
So it was quite a journey to that moment when we decided that we were going to adopt a child. I'm the oldest of 7 children. The first 5 came in 5.5 years. My mother is almost 93 and still alive to tell the tale. So I used to say, they're my babies too, Mom. And my mother was like, yep, here you go.
That's why you were so grown up at 21.
And I did in certain ways mature very quickly. And I realized there's always going to be somebody younger, cuter, needier than me. So you better get over that and find other ways that you are valuable. I mean, that's not what I would have said at 4 or 5 years old, but that's what I was doing, and my identity became very connected to my love of reading or taking in stories and hearing about other worlds, other lives, and then making them up, putting on little shows in our backyard and finding every access I could to singing and playing violin and playing accordion and playing piano. And if they didn't do musicals at Masconomet Junior High when I moved up there, then I sat down with the principal. I was a new kid at the school and sat down with the principal and said, why not? We can do this. I have an idea about how we could do this and not pay royalties. I mean, I had
oh my gosh.
Yeah, because my identity was already so wrapped up in storytelling. Even though I was very social, I had lots of friends. I was creating something bigger than anything I could do by myself with all these other people. I had a lot of responsibility in my family, although my father would sometimes say, what do you think you are, an only child? Maybe like an only child. And my dad and I had a somewhat combative relationship through my teens. He was an alcoholic who then, very bravely battled that and was sober for many decades before he passed away.
Remarkable.
In 2011. He was responsible for 7 children, his wife, and my great-grandmother, my mother's grandmother, who moved in with us. We moved up to Massachusetts because my dad was transferred, and he was in the aerospace industry. And 2 years after he was transferred, they closed down the division that he was transferred to. And so my dad was out of work the whole time I was in high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
that's a lot of stress.
Angry as hell at him, and because I was scared.
Yeah, sure.
Well, and because at 12 years old, it's hard enough to be 12, but to be 12 and then get uprooted and move to a place we don't know it, that's a really difficult age for that to happen.
If you feel
So,
unsafe or fearful, then that's where you get cantankerous, right? And that's where strange relationships begin, for sure.
And what I was blessed to experience was by the time I went, I swear it was like 2 months into my freshman year of college, I went, oh my God, this really is my own life. It's mine.
You're in your own boat.
It took me a long time to get to that place where you go, wait, this is my life. I get to make decisions. It took me so long to realize that as a young woman.
And it was the first time that I had empathy. Or I don't know if it was empathy, but it was I had sympathy. For
big difference, right? Between empathy and sympathy.
I don't know that I couldn't empathize with them. I wasn't parenting.
Right.
That came later. But I suddenly went, wow, they have to handle so much, and they are where they are. I didn't find out until I took him to breakfast one morning when I was visiting, and I was about 23 maybe. And I said, Dad, I want you to tell me about that time, from the time that I was actually, I think maybe I was in 8th grade when he was laid off. From that, all those years, what did you do? He said, I don't know if you want to hear all this. And I said, I want to hear all of it. And I love you so much. And I want to know, because I was so mean to you. He said, oh, you were a kid. You had big dreams, and you were. So anyway.
But did you always have that mama heart then, that maternal heart?
Well, I sort of had to have it too. I wasn't ready for it when I was really young.
Yeah.
Because it was all those kids, as I said, it was very quick, and that there was always a baby,
Right.
And, but by the time I was, as I said, by the time the 6th and 7th, Kate and Kevin were born, I just adored these babies, and I was now not a baby. So some of it was survival,
Sure.
It was a strategy to survive. And some of it was a maturity that I think I somehow came into this life with. And I did have this sort of single-minded purpose that I really felt I was meant to express through storytelling.
Yeah,
And
it was a calling.
yeah, to my singing and to acting, and I thought maybe directing. It hasn't happened, but to get to wind back to very question about mothering, I remember saying to my mom when I was about 7 years old, Mom, I'm not getting married until I'm like, I don't know, 35, 40 years old, because I have a lot to do and I don't want to have to worry about everybody that I need to take care of, including a husband. And I said, and I probably will adopt 2 Korean children. And my mom was like, really? And my mom had said, I think this was before she had her 6th and 7th, maybe when this batch is older, that maybe we'll adopt a child, and maybe it'll be a child from Korea. So that seed had been planted.
Mm-hmm.
So saying that, and then I fell in love at 21 with a man who had 2 daughters, one of whom was, as we used to say, dangerously close to my age, and who he had adopted when she was a baby, and when he married her mom. And the other was 4.5 years old.
Wow.
So, as she said, I was one of her parents. There was already this sense of a responsibility beyond myself and the other grown-up who lived in my household and who I loved dearly. And decisions were made that were career-related for both of us that had to be weighed with the responsibility that we had to
as caregivers,
particularly Justine, my younger stepdaughter. And so we had kind of a deal that, I remember we were actually both doing like 8 shows a week.
Wow.
Either on Broadway. I may have been doing Song of Singapore, which was an off-Broadway show, and he was doing City of Angels. So I had said to my husband, I think I'm going to want to have a child, but not for a while. And how's that going to work here? How would that possibly work? And he said, I'm open. I put it off for a long time because, and there was a point where I was in my mid-30s and Sean was like, TikTok. I mean, he wasn't really talking to my TikTok, although it was relevant. He was talking about his own TikTok,
Sure.
He said, I want to be able to toss the ball. I want to be able to, all those things. I want to be really present. And I was like, it's just this moment, I'm having all these opportunities. I don't feel like I can step away to be the kind of mother I want to be. And I know what's required, and I'm not going to be the mother my mom was. It's not that situation, but I have been co-parenting Justine, and there's a lot involved in being present. And he and I were already making decisions about, okay, you're going out of town. I need to stay here. If we're both doing Broadway shows, then we're not going to take also a guest spot on a TV thing that's offered to us because there's just only so much time in a day.
That's
and
right.
We need to have time for her. It's so important. And even when she's in high school, they need you in other ways.
That's right.
That are very, very important. So, but finally, in my 40s, I decided that we went through it. We were in therapy together. Do we want to have a child? Do we not? Because he was at a point where he's going, maybe not. Maybe it's too late. And I was saying, oh no, don't say that. And we'd been together for over 20 years. And we really sorted through sort of imagining life, not without a child, because we already had children in our lives, but without bringing another child into our lives. We did decide, to try to have a child. And I had several miscarriages. I never did IVF, but I did have to do a lot of bed rest and pull out of shows, postpone shows. It was a complicated journey and grieving,
Yeah, sure.
But I kept saying to Sean, I believe the spirit is trying to come to us. And I always had thought about adopting. And when we were younger in our relationship, I thought, God, boy, it would be great to have it to birth a child of ours and also to adopt a child. I would love to do that. And that's just not how it worked out. But ultimately, we adopted this beautiful spirit. You know, I've said to her, I said it to him, and I tell myself every day, we were always meant to be together. We were always meant to be together. And so the responsibility of trying to balance career and parenting, once Dharmiya was in our lives, it was kind of magical what happened, because I lined up some film work. I had to pull out of like a big Sondheim concert. I had to pull out of a play that I thought I was going to be able to do, which we brought her home when she was 6.5 months old. And when she was 8.5 months old, I was on the set of World Trade Center, but it was shooting here. And I said, I have to work here. I have to work here.
And Sean was healthy and home and able to
Sean
help work that all out.
I mean, he was just awesome. And he was working. He was doing television and theater, and he was doing more traveling, because I didn't want to leave, and he didn't really want to leave either. But you know, we were doing our job. Well, it was different because I said, I don't see myself making a commitment to 8 shows a week above the title in a Broadway show and signing a year's contract or even a 9-month contract. And I thought, if I never work again and can find another way to, you know, earn my keep and support my family, that's okay, because I've had this experience. But things just were kind of flowing. And then Sean had his first health crisis when Dharmiya was 4 going on 5, close to turning 5. Sean was ill for 6.5 years before he died, with 3 major different illnesses and ultimately the stage 4 stomach cancer that took his life.
That's a lot with a little one in the house. That is a lot to juggle.
You know,
and I was trying to work just enough to keep our insurance. One of my sisters came down, and then my sister-in-law came down, and it was not easy. And with my girl, well, Daddy was sick and had to go to the hospital, and he would come home, and she actually wanted to like be his nurse. And I was talking to a therapist about, you know, I mean, she's very interested and she wants to be a vet, but at that time she thought she wanted to be a doctor. And so she was like, bring home the materials, gauze and the swabs and the
stethoscope and all that.
Wanted to, you know, we had to like change his IV, and it was like, no, I don't want her involved in that. I don't want her identifying as a caregiver.
And on the other side of that, you want Sean to be home in a quiet space where he can heal and gain strength, but you have an unbridled 4.5-year-old. So there is this crazy, I'm sure, ecosystem where you're trying to balance both of your loved ones who are on completely different spectrums and make it a cohesive home, you know?
But also giving her a sense of being able to be helpful. Like, oh, this is your really, really important job, you know?
Balance. Yeah. So we did find, you know, I remember talking with therapists a family therapist I was working with about what are those things where she can feel like she's helping Dad.
You said one thing that really touched me, and it was the only thing that I could hear that could just let me breathe again and make sense of it all. And I actually lost a child during Drood. I was miscarriaging, singing, writing on the wall, singing lyrics of holding on to life and not giving up, and I was cramping and bleeding and going, I am losing this baby right now. It was a real rough time. And that was one of those moments. And you try to wrap your head around it. And it just didn't, until my voice teacher literally said, you understand, you're not losing these babies. There's a little voice up there saying, she's not yours. There's another mama for you. There's another person out there for you. That was the only thing that could let me find peace. Yeah. So thank you for, again, you reiterated it in such a way with Dharmiya saying, you know, all of these souls were supposed to be together. And I so deeply, deeply believe that. Yeah.
Has Dharmiya always come to see your shows?
The first time she saw me perform, I was just like singing at one of those wall-to-wall Sondheim at Symphony Space. And I was singing Losing My Mind. And we live a few blocks from there. And Sean walked her over. I said, can you come? He's a person I trusted to come to the sound check, come to the first invited whatever of anything.
Yeah.
They'd let him in the theater and be at rehearsal. Anyway, he brought her over and I was singing and all of a sudden I hear, why my mommy so sad?
Oh. Oh.
And he took her out. Why my mommy so sad? And when she saw, for instance, Tangled, I was very worried about that because I was playing Mother
Yes.
who was a villain, and
Yes.
super excited while I was preparing to do that I was doing a Disney movie, and she had grown up on a lot of Disney from my time, from what I saw as a kid, and then also the resurgence of Disney, Little Mermaid and
the Renaissance films.
Of course.
Yep.
Beast, all those, and so it was very exciting. But we were really nervous about this character, the nature of who she was, and Mother Gothel. But we told her a lot about it before she saw it. And we watched it actually up at near one of the theaters at North Shore, Liberty Tree Mall up in Massachusetts. The day after Thanksgiving, with all my Murphy family, I was up there for the holidays. Grandma and Pop, and we put Darmy and I on the aisle. And I'd seen it at a screening, but it wasn't completely finished at the time. So it was my first time seeing it too. And Darmy was great through it because we had taken her through so much of it. But I kind of forgot to tell her that the character died.
Oh, no.
Watching it, she would just sometimes she turned to me, she goes, "You're funny when you're mean." You're funny when you're mean. She was 5, I guess, or 6. I guess about 5 and a half. And then at the very end, when Gothel dies, as she deserves to do, and she disintegrates. She disintegrates. You see her disintegrate and falls out a window and long scream. And Darmy's like, "No!"
Oh.
And I had to just run her out of the theater. And my mother is telling everybody, my daughter is the voice of Gothel, and that's her daughter, and it must have been very scary for her. Gothel.
And now, our 5 questions.
If you could have any question answered, what would your question be?
Well, this is something I want to know and I don't want to know. What happens to not our bodily selves, but our spiritual selves when we leave this plane?
Mm-hmm.
I have ideas about it, I have hopes about it. So that's the big question.
It is a big question.
In yoga, there is no Sanskrit word for death or time. They don't exist.
Yeah.
Mm.
If we were to walk into your closet, is there a garment or an item, piece of jewelry that you will save forever?
Sean gave me beautiful jewelry, not like diamonds and pearls, and just always really interesting things that were in the cameo collection that he gave me. So all of those, everything he ever gave me in that way, because of the care that went into his selection. And the other thing is this little pair of shoes that I have that were handmade for me in Italy. They were Fosca's slippers.
Special.
They were the softest black leather, and they had the most intricate embroidery. And they're still these soft, and I still wear them. So I wear them for certain auditions. I don't feel like Fosca in them. I sort of like.
But they ground you in a certain way.
Ground me, and they allow me to sort of journey to another place. And I trust being in those shoes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. What was your childhood nickname? Who gave it to you and why?
I had a few. I had a junior high science teacher, Joe Casey, who was like just a jock. You know what I mean? He was a great science teacher. He was very, very funny. So he knew I sang. And he would say, "Oh, you didn't finish your homework because what'd you have? A gig? Did you have a gig?" Or I'd say, he called me Murph, but everybody called me Murph. But then he called me Chirp.
Chirp. Oh.
So that began Chirp.
That's very, very sweet.
Yeah.
Donna, if you could have, you have so many skills, but if you could be proficient, a master at any other skill, worldly or otherwise, what would it be?
Cure cancer.
We've never had that answer, and I'm surprised we haven't.
It's not just my husband. My father died of glioblastoma. My best friend, Marin.
Yep.
And it goes on and on and on. I just feel like, and
that's a beautiful one. Okay.
It.
If you were a nail polish color, what color would you be? What would the cute little name be?
Okay. So I think it would be like an opalescent in different light.
It has all the colors.
Reflected or emitted different colors.
Mm-hmm.
And I would call it Chameleon Queen.
Oh, yes. I love that.
Yes.
You are a joy.
Glorious.
Yeah. I can't thank you enough for coming on and joining us and being a part of this. And
bless you guys.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Coming up next, what struck a chord with us right after this break? Stages podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Our theme song says, "Love where you are now," but sometimes we all need a little help. I've learned from therapy and in my yoga practice that growth comes from challenges. A good therapist can help you reframe the way you look at a challenge and your life. And BetterHelp can provide you with a therapist that gives you some tools to navigate. They offer customized online therapy, either on video or phone chat sessions. It's more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can reach a therapist in under 48 hours. And right now, Stages cast members get 10% off their first month with BetterHelp, so don't wait. Remember, when you support our sponsors, you support Stages Podcast. So log on to BetterHelp, that's HELP.com/stages, and love where you are now. So she's just amazing. First of all, the reason she even came on the show was because she had tweeted something out about an episode that a friend of hers was in. And I just reached out to her. I did not know her. Reached out and said, "How would you like to come on?" And she answered, "I would love to come on." And just started emailing back and forth. Now I feel like I know her. She's so lovely, so open. But her talent is ridiculous. And she really does have one of those careers that I always dreamed of having, where you're literally Broadway royalty, but you can walk down the street and not be accosted. And
we didn't say that just for her sake. We're not kidding. When we were prepping for this conversation, both Mary Lee and I said, if we really could shape, what our careers might look like, would we like them to look, it was this career. And then to have her talk about the choices that she made, and she made those choices with consideration and pointedly, for herself. That takes bravery. She has had that foresight and guts to raise her hand and say, can I question quote unquote authority, or I have a couple of ideas about what this should be or look like. And in doing that, man, the agency that you have over her, over one's life, not just a career, over one's life.
Yep.
It's enviable.
Yeah, she's really something. But when she was talking about how she first got into yoga and all of that, it reminded me of the experience that happened to me when I first realized how important yoga was. My dad was very, very ill. And I had just started doing yoga classes, and I was in this class and he was having us do camel, which is like a back bend where you lean back and you hold your heels. And so it's a big, big heart opener. So I'm in this camel pose and I got really dizzy and I thought I was going to throw up. So I came out of the pose and I sat on the mat, and he came over and he whispered, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I think I'm a little bit, I think I might be sick." And he said, "Get back in the pose. I'm going to help you." And I was like, "I don't want to get back in the pose. I think I'm going to throw up." And he said, "Trust me and get back in the pose." And he made me get back in the pose, and he put his hand on my back, and he said, just take a deep breath and let it out. And I burst into tears.
Wow.
Like sobbing tears, like I had to pick up my mat, go to the corner of the room. And he's like, don't leave, just go sit back there. And after class, I said, what was that? And he said, what's going on in your life? And I said, well, my dad is really sick. He's dying. And he said, oh, yeah. You need to get in that pose every day. Get in that pose every day. Go through the sickness into the tears, because your body is holding all of that. You're going to get sick if your body holds all of that. Get in this pose every day and have a cry. And that was the day I realized, whoa, yoga is more than having a nice butt. Yoga is really
your
like,
limbs. Yeah.
Wow. And that was sort of what set me into becoming a yoga teacher, was that class and that teacher. Wow. Anyway, that kind of came up for me when she was talking about how she was practicing yoga and meditation to prep for a part. And then she realized how important it was in her life.
Far more than just that. Yeah. And she seems to have lived, I find this about a lot of artists, but she really did embody it, lived several lives.
Yeah.
I think we underestimate, again, we use the word play. I think a lot of people from the outside looking in, they consider artists kind of frivolous, or, we just go to work, put on lipstick and become, because of the wig or the corset or whatever. And I will truly say, and I have, been in relationships with doctors. I've been on boards with executives and business geniuses, quote unquote. Some of the most intellectual, deep, smart people are artists, are actors.
Deep
the
thinkers.
Way they can communicate on so many different issues and subject matter, I find it to be extraordinary. And I do believe it is because she referred to this, was it Stella Adler? Some teacher that said, you've got to learn about humanity. You've got to look at the blue collar worker. You've got to pay attention to. And that is, I know I keep preaching it, but I truly believe if you can be aware of the world around you on a really cellular level, it will come through. It doesn't matter what work you do. It will come through your work in a way that will set you apart, that will make you noticeable, that will make you accessible. It will be different because of how you pay attention living your life. And I feel that Donna has done that. And I can feel it in every part she plays. And whether it is a voiceover role, or whether it is a sci-fi role, or something that touched me deeply was her Fosca in Passion.
Of course.
But if you don't have that humanity or awareness, and then be able to translate it on the inside, to then beautifully regurgitate it and translate it again to go out and touch your audience.
Yeah.
That's skill. We call it play, and we do have fun, but there is depth and skill to it. And I respect her greatly.
Oh, same. It was wonderful talking to her. And I am today going to download The Road Less Traveled and do that again.
Great.
I haven't read it in a long time.
Another thing that also came to me, and I wanted to ask her, but I thought, that'd be cheeky, that the beautiful collection of cameos she said Sean had given to her. I was like, oh, wouldn't that be wonderful if that did show up on one of Mrs. Astor's costumes, to have that personal piece on a costume. But maybe they are just so precious to her that she doesn't want them out in the world in that way.
All right, my friend. This was such a great morning.
Me too. I felt the same. Thank you. Thank you for bringing her in. Hi, Donna. You. Thanks. We're fans.
Thank you. We love you. Goodbye.
Yeah, we do. So if this episode resonated with you, please follow, subscribe, and share.
You can always find us at stagespodcast.net. A big thank you goes out to our assistant and doer of all things technical, Saren Cho. Thank you to Noah Kaiserman and Garrett Healy for our beautiful original music, Melanie Von Trapp for our Stages Podcast logo, Brock Grenfeld, our sound engineer, and Allison Arns, our PR and social media expert.
And thank you, our cast members, for joining us today. We hope you come back next week.